I'm not superstitious, to the best of my knowledge, but here's an assignment I would never accept, to report a story from the Bermuda Triangle. But Good Morning America anchor and weather dude Sam Champion did exactly that this morning and lived to tell about it. Still, it won't surprise me if we have trouble with his phone line. Champion's report was part of GMA's 3-day series, In Search of the Truth, about myths and legends such as the Bermuda Triangle, Loch Ness Monster, and vampires. No thanks, brother. Here's a quick promo for the show.
This week, Good Morning America goes in search of the truth behind some of the planet's greatest myths and legends. From the Bermuda Triangle to vampires, even the Loch Ness Monster. This week, if you dare, go in search of the truth. Only on ABC's Good Morning America.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You sound like you're being swallowed up by the triangle.
Well, it's a little windy here this morning, but other than that, the weather is gorgeous.
And you're on the edge of the triangle, I think. But on Key Biscayne?
Yeah, you know what's funny is that a lot of different places, a lot of different reports have drawn the lines in different locations. But we learned that, you know, this entire line of coastline from Miami to Fort Lauderdale is actually on the western edge, and it was something that we had fun with in the piece, driving along the Fort Lauderdale Strip during spring break, you know, just kind of basically saying that everyone along here was playing dangerously close to the edge of the Bermuda Triangle.
Assignments. I mean, is somebody out to get you since you the time?
Well, you know, this one was not one that the weather team came up with. This was one that the show actually came up with, was a line, an idea along, you know, kind of looking for these great mysteries. I think because, you know, last year we did a group of secret rooms and secret places, and I think, you know, the audience liked them. So this year they looked to kind of look for some other mysteries. I don't believe that we were ever going to really solve them, but we were at least going to bring you up to date on, you know, in an hour's, the current technology that a little bit, you know, demystifies the Bermuda Triangle.
I've got a short clip from your report this morning. Let's play this to give everybody a sense of what we're talking about. Here we go.
All right.
It runs from Bermuda south to Puerto Rico and west to the Miami-Fort Lauderdale coast. Over the last 3 centuries, as many as 200 airplanes and 2,000 ocean-going vessels have mysteriously disappeared. Is the supernatural to blame, or is it just science? The question has led to books, websites, even movies probing the mystery. Christopher Columbus was the first to note strange events here in 1492. His logs state the ship's compass went haywire and strange lights sparked in the sky. Throughout time, the mysteries continued. 1918, the naval ship Cyclops disappeared. Just this past December, a twin-engine plane lost en route to an island in the Bahamas. But the incident that remains the most perplexing and may have started the entire legend, the infamous Flight 19. The drama depicted in this documentary. 5 bomber planes take off on a routine training mission. Rough weather, a flight compass spinning out of control, and a disoriented flight leader all lead to a disastrous end.
So, Sam, what did you learn about the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, that piece sounded scary to me, though, by the way. So here's the deal. You know, it's funny because when I was a kid, I remember hearing the stories, and they do. I mean, they sound frighteningly scary. And then, you know, you don't think about it for a while. And then when we started looking into it now, you know, you realize that there's satellite transmission. There's, you know, just you're in radio contact, you know, with some kind of air control tower for most of the time that you're on a flight just about anywhere. Or you're in contact with other airplanes at the same time. And the technology is just, you know, certainly better than it was then. You know, here's what I kind of looked at when we put all the stories together. There's a lot of people who are talking about, you know, the
fact that that part of the Atlantic is certainly prone to very strong storms, and they can whip up with very little notice. I mean, now we can watch these hurricanes develop, and you see just how quickly they can move, and they can be in an area that was calm just hours before, and surprise a lot of people if they're not, keeping up with them on radar, keeping up with them on satellite, which technology was not available then. Flights would go into this zone in clear weather, and my guess is they would end up in bad weather rapidly. What we do know about science and talking about, thunderstorms and lightning and their effect on magnetic, whether you call it signals or magnetic readings, is well documented at this point. Radio transmission goes out, and if in one of these bad storms you were to lose a plane or you were to lose a ship, because the ocean below is so rough, and now with the latest science looking into rogue waves, where it's kind of a pile-up of waves into one big massive wave, whatever was there on the ocean would disappear below the ocean surface. So looking at it from a science basis, a lot of it seems to kind of explain itself the more you know about the region and the more technology you have to look into the region. But it certainly had to have been a scary and mystifying place when you had no ability to see it from above or to understand what you were going into.
What's the difference between the rogue waves that you talked about and what hit, I guess, in the South Pacific 2 or 3 Christmases ago?
Oh, you mean a tsunami?
Tsunami, yeah.
Yeah, well, a tsunami is usually a wave that's triggered by some kind of activity. It could be a seismic activity, and in that case it was where you get a shift on the ocean floor that would trigger a wave, and that wave would travel. And it would normally be one particularly strong wave because of the initial jolt, and there may be some smaller waves ahead of it or behind it. We went to here in South Florida and talked with some folks who study rogue waves, and this is something that they're just now trying to understand, and they're looking into these ocean tanks, and they've got a very nice setup to understand how these waves can pile up. When I was a kid, we thought that a wave traveled at one speed the entire time, and that's just the way it was. Now they understand that waves can pile up together, particularly when they're wind-driven waves or they're storm-driven waves. And you can all of a sudden, in what just looks like a gentle roll of waves, you can pile up with a wave that's several times what the other waves around it are. And that's the theory in rogue waves that they are now studying with great effort and trying to understand better.
Now, Sam, in the report, you focus a lot on the science of the Bermuda Triangle and explaining it. I noticed that you also gave a bit of airtime to Vernon.
Right.
You were all convinced by his story?
Well, listen, I'm convinced by people who believe what they believe. I think it's very difficult to tell someone they did not experience what they feel like they experienced, and you can either look at it with your skepticism, believing in your set of facts that you believe in your head, or you can look at it through their eyes. I would never stand there and tell someone they didn't experience what they say they experienced. I would just choose to explain it either their way or my way to myself. And so, in doing these stories, you let the audience make their decision in exactly the same way. We give you some information on one side, we give you some information on the other side, and clearly we'd like to leave it to you to make an informed decision.
It's certainly more interesting to believe it their way.
Well, you know what? It was a great story. It honestly was. And again, when you talk to people, and he wasn't the only one that we talked to that believe there's a supernatural cause and effect here. They really approach it with a very strong sense of belief. And who am I to tell them that they're wrong?
So what's next in the In Search of the Truth series?
Well, tomorrow, I'm not sure exactly what order they come up. I believe tomorrow is the vampires, and Claire Shipman has that story, and I believe Nick Watt is going to bring the Loch Ness Monster. But vampires, come on, really popular right now with the latest films and movies and books out about them. So, to go back to the original myth or legend and try to find out, what was the real story, it's a great take on it. And, of course, Loch Ness Monster Monster. As a child, I visited Scotland, and I remember just being petrified by the thought that there could be some prehistoric creature that lived right there in Loch Ness. So, another two great stories to deal with.
So the producers want you to be lost at sea, and they want Claire to be bitten and attacked. I don't know. I'd be watching my back there,
it makes for great television, and there's lots of other people who can do TV. So, really, when you think about it, we're expendable.
So, listen, I want to ask you about something else while we have you on the phone. You've been, this is your third year as an anchor and doing the weather at GMA. Has the job been everything you expected?
I'm sorry, it was a little windy. Job in everything I expected?
Oh, I know.
Was that the question?
That's the Rogue Wave. What Rogue Wave?
Yeah, I think the job's been everything I expected and more. I was in, doing local weather and happily in New York for 18 years and elsewhere for a few prior to that. And I kind of thought I knew what the schedule would be, but it's a 2-hour live broadcast that covers the entire country. And it's a little like riding a bucking bronco for 2 hours. It can change at the whim of breaking news, and often does, if not always, certainly often. There's a helicopter now, and I think it was a lot more than I expected, if that's possible.
Some people would look at it and go, okay, it's a 2-hour job. You're there from 7 to 9. It's got to be a cakewalk, but it's not a 2-hour job.
No, it's a 16 to 18 hour a day job. It just is. Here's the thing about television, and it's radio, it's television, it's what you see and hear. The audience is supposed to think that it's fun, and they're supposed to believe that that's the schedule and it's a marvelous job, and they should, because there's a certain amount of romance to these jobs. They're great travel jobs, they're great information jobs, and the people that do them are lucky to do them. But they are, it takes a long time to put that broadcast together, and yours as well, I'm sure, and it takes a lot of people to do it. So, nobody wants to see how the sausage is made, but you're just supposed to like what you see. And so as long as you see that television broadcast and it is informative and it's entertaining, we're lucky to have these jobs, and we'll put in the hours to bring it,
Is there anything you wish someone had told you about the job before you started?
I think what your brain does on sleep deprivation, I don't think anybody can really tell you. I think it's something you have to experience. But, I used to be able to store facts in my brain. Like remembering this phone number was a difficult chore for me. At that hour of the morning, just nothing really sticks in your head. It just doesn't. So, I think if someone could have told me, I don't know that I would have understood it, but it's what the lack of sleep does to one's mind.
Well, now, you're minutes away from being sucked out into the Bermuda Triangle. Tell us something about each of your co-anchors that no one would know otherwise.
Here's the thing. You can't do this broadcast. I think it's different on other broadcasts. On broadcasts that you come in on a regular day, you don't get to know sometimes your co-anchors. You know them peripherally well, and you have this wonderful relationship that's an on-camera relationship. In this particular job, because of the rough hours and because of the travel, and we travel a lot together. I think you see us travel as a group together more than a lot of the other shows do. You come to know those people very, very well, and I can, rest assured to the audience that while I would never give away any secrets because I wouldn't want them to give anything away on me, but I will tell you that they're great and wonderful people, and I honestly, pretty much who you see on camera is what you get in real life, and because so much of our time is spent at work, it would be difficult to hide something else. You know what I mean? So you get those people that is who they are, and they're a great bunch of people to see the world with.
We have a question. There's a live web chat that accompanies the live Mr. Media interviews, and Alvina Smith in the web chat wants me to ask you about a spiritual transition that she thinks that you made since leaving Channel 7 News. She says that she's seen a change in you. Any truth to that?
Really? I don't know. You'll have to tell me what you mean by that. I'm not quite sure. Is that something they can clarify?
Alvina, give us a quick answer because we got to let Sam go. I'm watching the web chat right now.
I asked the question figuring that maybe
right. That maybe that someone's there, but it's what they said a spiritual change.
Yeah. So there's been a spiritual transition in you since leaving China.
That's interesting. I don't know whether that means it was good or bad. I'm not sure. I'll take it to try to be a positive thing and answer it from there. And if it was a negative, I'm sorry. But, I think that I had done Channel 7 and been there, and please understand that I loved every minute of it. Loved it. But when you do a job for 18 years, you know that job. And sometimes you can do it, looking sideways, and sometimes you can do it with one hand, and you just kind of get in a rhythm and you get in the pace. It's not a bad thing. It's just the truth. This job is challenging every day. Every day we're trying to figure out if we can get television. I mean, today we're on a boat, and can we get a television signal back to the shore, and can that signal get to New York, and can I hear them? Can they hear me? Will we get a picture? It's a challenge every day, and that it just makes it fun. It makes it stressful, but it makes it fun.
All right, last question before we let you go. You have a Twitter account. Is that actually you twittering in there? And
it is me. And here's the difficult thing about it. It's been a lot of fun to do it. But now, as you want to try to answer all the questions, I'm finding I got to answer them in bulk and can't answer them so much, one-on-one. So that's the tough part. But we still do try to Twitter some interesting stuff behind the scenes and in the show.
Now, Sam's got almost 7,000 followers on his Twitter account. I guess we can give out that name. It's twitter.com/SamChampion. Go take a look. And you can catch Anchor Sam Champion daily on ABC News America from 7 to 9 a.m. And if you missed any episode of the In the Search of the Truth series, you can probably check out GMA's website, abcnews.co.com/GMA. And, Sam, it was a lot of fun. I hope you return to the Triangle intact. And thanks for joining us on Mr. Media.
Anytime. It's a pleasure. And I actually enjoyed checking out your podcast, so thank you very much.
Thank you. There's an endorsement, folks. Have a safe trip back to New York.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
For more journalist interviews, go over to our main website. That's www.mrmedia.com, MrMedia.com. That's where you can listen to my earlier conversations with Chris Hansen of NBC News, Bill Adair of PolitiFact.com, Alberto Ibarguen of the Knight Foundation, Karen Dunlap of the Poynter Institute, and Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist Clay Bennett, and many more. Please think about writing an online review of Mr. Media, casting a vote for Mr. Media, or marking Mr. Media as one of your favorites, whether you listen on Blog Talk Radio, MySpace, Poynter Online, Friendster, Orkut, Bebo, High Five, Tag, Multiply, Zanga, Yahoo, NetVibes, Dirt. This is crazy, isn't it? Digital Journal, Podcast Pickle, Vox, Folio, Mediafly, Podfeed.net, Blueberry, Zencast, or Odeo. And subscribe to Mr. Media on iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. Just search Mr. Media Interviews from within iTunes and subscribe for free. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many locations. If you've got an idea for a guest, email me directly at bob@andelman.com. It's ANDELMAN.